Hello friends, I'm David Vose, and I wanted to make a short video today on what's going on with Walmart. You probably noticed some things going on, and I just watched a video. Some guy, I don't know what the guy's name was. Somebody sent it to me. This guy goes into Walmart and he buys some beer, takes it up the counter. His young daughter touches the beer, and the cashier says, well, I'm not allowed to sell you that beer because your daughter touched it. And he says, what are you talking about? She just touched the beer. She's like, well, it's a law. And he says, no, it's not the law. It might be a policy of Walmart, and I don't think it's a policy of Walmart, actually. I think you're misunderstanding the policy. But she said, no, I'm not going to sell you the beer. Now you got to leave. So he called the manager up there, and the manager said, I've got to do whatever my cashier says. So he called headquarters of Walmart, and they said that that's not their policy. And, well, you see, this happened to me. Some time ago, I was with my daughter who was underage. Doesn't have a driver. She didn't drive, so she didn't have a driver's license. And I got some wine, and they wouldn't sell me the wine because they wanted to see my daughter's driver's license. And I said, well, my daughter doesn't have a driver's license, number one, because she doesn't drive. And they said, well, we don't know that, so we're not going to sell you the wine. So I asked to see the manager, same thing. They wouldn't, again, same deal. So I said, we got to go by our cashier, whatever they say. So called Walmart. They said the same thing. That's not our policy. They should have sold you the wine. You see, what they're doing is they're telling their cashiers to do a certain thing. Then you go to the manager, and the manager says, it's not my fault. I got to go by whatever the cashier says. It's our policy. And then you call headquarters, and they say, well, that's not policy, and what they did was wrong. But they don't reprimand anybody because this is how they carry on with their agenda. Now, if you notice, some years ago, they got rid of cigarettes. And in this case, most Americans were for it. We didn't think that smoking was something we should have out there in the public, and we wanted it to be harder to buy cigarettes. But they started off by saying, you couldn't advertise cigarettes. Then they said you couldn't buy it unless you were 18 or 19 or 21 or whatever. And then it's like, now you got to go to a special line where they have cigarettes behind the counter, and you got to get a special key, and it's like break open a safe. And same thing going on with, if you go to Walmart, you notice if you want to buy alcohol, you get up to the end of the line, and the lady there can't sell you alcohol, so she's got to call a special alcohol seller, right? And then they pass their little card through the thing and say, it's all right, you got any children with you? You look like you're all right, so they sell you the wine. Make a big deal out of it. They're trying to pressure the American people into thinking that somehow or another, it's a serious thing if you buy alcohol. That's just serious. And you can't have children around or present. So they're trying to manipulate our consciousness, our culture. Meanwhile, they're selling us drugs over the counter that are, pharmaceutical drugs, and they're charging millions of dollars for these things and getting rich, and they don't want us medicating ourselves, see? So, but this isn't the only thing they're doing. If you also notice that now when you're going into Walmart, right up at the front where they usually have the self-checkout stations, there's like 4 to 6 or 8 of them up there, and there's always one person that sits up there and watches over that whole situation. And I've noticed now in almost every Walmart that I've been in that the person that runs that area is a transgender. They're purposely hiring transgenders to run that area where they just stand there right in front of the door, right? So that way everybody can see them. Look, we got a transgender. Now, most people just think, oh, well, they're just being politically correct, or they're just, trying to help people, or what. They're not trying to help people. They're trying to shove this kind of agenda down our throat. See, they tried passing laws where, you've got to have a bathroom so that the transgender males can go into the little children's bathrooms with your little daughters and stuff. And we said no. So they're trying to go around all this and just go right straight in. Because, see, they have a monopoly, Walmart does. All the small towns throughout America, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people all have a Walmart. And so that shut down every other mom and pop store in town. The grocery markets and everything went out of business. You know, even the hardware stores and the tire shops and everything, because Walmart sells everything. So whatever they decide to sell us, that's what we've got to buy. I noticed that for a while I went into Walmart down here and I couldn't even buy sourdough bread. So I guess they didn't sell enough of it or whatever. So, you know, like back in the day, if you went to a store, even if it was a small town, you got a choice, right? You could have whole wheat, white, potato bread, sourdough, rye. They don't sell any rye or sourdough anymore because it's not convenient for them. It doesn't make them a lot of money to have a large variety. You go down there trying to get coffee, and here at the Walmart where I'm at, you can't get U-Ban. You can't get the kind of coffee that I want. The only thing you've got is there was a choice of 4 different brands, and that's it. And they don't have any organic cereal or anything there. So I have to drive all the way to Abilene to get the things that I want to buy. Walmart has got us by the gonads. They're the only show playing. And if you want to see the show, you got to go there and pay them your money. And so they're allowed to manipulate and demoralize this country. Because see, they've already got these mega oligarchies already have control of every business and you know, they've got all the control and power of the banks, and they've got control of our Congress and our legislatures and stuff. The thing that they don't have control over is they can't always pass laws when they want to. That, you know, these liberal agenda 21 laws or one world government stuff. So they're going around the legislation. And they're just, by virtue of the fact that they have the power of the pocketbook, they have the Walmart in every town and you have to go there. They're trying to shove a political, moral idea, an ideology down our throats. So every time you go to Walmart, you got to see a transgender standing there. And if they don't have a transgender in that town, they choose an openly gay person or something. And if you notice, they also have, and this is crazy, I couldn't figure this out for a while, but almost all of the cashiers and checkers at Walmart are feeble, old, slow, mentally handicapped people. And so it's, a lot of people think, oh, they're trying to help the mentally ill and everything. Come on, remember when we used to go to the store and they taught them how to count the money back to us, and it was like we were trying to get home. We had things to do. Come on, let's go. Right now you stand in line, and it takes for hours to go through Walmart. Because here's what's happening. They're trying to streamline Walmart. They don't want you to go through the cashier. They don't want to hire cashiers. They hope it takes a while because they want you to get so frustrated that you'll go do the self-checkout. And very soon they're going to be going to a thing like Amazon where you just order it online and they drop it off with a drone in front of your house. See, this is going to save them money. So part of the reason they're doing all of this is to save them money, to streamline everything. Even though the American people don't want that. We want to have somebody, you know, help us through and cash it out and, you know, count the money back and take somebody, you know, have somebody there to bag it for us and take it to our car. We would pay extra for that, right? But they outlaw it because they don't want to hire people. They want it to be automated. This is why Obama started. See, what they're doing is they're trying to move everybody into the cities, in the inner cities. They don't want you to work. You're going to work part-time because they're taking all of the jobs and everything away. This thing that they've done in America over the last so many years, where the economy has been so bad, it's been on purpose. Because what they're doing is they're trying to make people so poor that they got to go on welfare. They want to get you used to the fact that you're not going to have a lot of money, because if you don't have a lot of money, you got to move into the inner cities. See, and in the inner cities, they give you a handout, put you on welfare, give you an apartment. They don't want you out there living in a productive life in the country with your own ranch. growing your own stuff, because you see, then people will spread out and they just think, well, there's too many people and we want to preserve all this beautiful land for ourselves. The rich get to have it, right? The poor, you got to live in the inner cities and be on drugs and be, dumbed down. In the inner cities, the schools are bad and there's not a good job and you don't have any money. All you just sit there and drink and smoke cigarettes, right? So, well, they won't let you do that now. So you got to go to them, and they put you on mental health social services and give you medications, and you're basically in a straitjacket in the city. They've got us, they're destroying our minds and our culture and our way of life. And we've got to stop it. We've got to say, we know what you're doing, you oligarchs that's running all these companies, and you're trying to persuade us to believe in certain things. You got this agenda with, they're teaching our children to be Satanists and stuff. Not because they want us to worship Satan, just because they're trying to demoralize us and get us to all be insane, right? Mentally ill. So they can sell us drugs and keep us in little mental straitjackets. I don't know exactly every little detail of how or why they're doing this, but we, the American people, need to wake up and tell our legislators and our congressmen, no, we need to break Walmart up and start saying that no, Walmart's, they can't own every grocery market and every tire shop and every hardware store and everything else in the whole world. People should be able to buy and sell their own things locally. We should be able to buy and sell our produce locally. This is the kind of world we need to live in, and we're not going into a utopia. We're going into a Borg system, and it's going hand in hand with this computer thing that you're watching me on. It won't be long, friends. Just recently, a big thing happened, and you probably didn't even hear about it. But used to be, up until now, that all the programming, like with Google and all this stuff, has been done by humans. So the progress has been slow. Recently, we've discovered how to do the programming, the computer programming, with computers. This means that that the computer age is going to vastly increase. Everything's going to spiral completely out of control now. These phones are going to advance in technological advancement each year in ways that you won't even believe. We're going to be just encased in a hologram here real soon. We're not going to be able to get out of this. They're going to have, they're going to be able to control our minds in ways that you've never dreamed, because you got to eat, right? No man will buy or sell without the mark of the beast, the mark of this crazy carnal government that we live in, where it's all about their power and control over us, the sheep. And if we don't wise up right now and let Donald Trump, this new administration, know that we don't like this, and make him aware of what's really going on, because I don't think Donald Trump knows everything about what's really going on. See, a lot of this stuff that they've done, a lot of it's just people just letting it go right over their head. They don't realize what's actually happening to our society. So we've got to make our legislators aware, our senators, our congressmen, our local legislators in each state, all the people that, we've already proven that we can go out and we can vote and we can change this world with our votes. But we can't if we don't know what's going on. This is why I'm making this video, and I'm hoping that somebody will make more videos on their channels, and we need to get this message out, like this other man did about his experience at Walmart. They can't run everything. They need to be broken up like AT&T was some years ago, which that did a lot of good. We still got basically one phone company. I think they're all run by the same corporation. And the banks, it's the same thing. There's just these certain families that they each own 2% of each company, but there's only 50 people that own everything. So we've got to do something about this, friends. It won't be long, and there won't be a way out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and go, and I hope I didn't offend anybody there with some of my comments, but something's going on. We need to be aware. This is David Vose, and we'll see you again tomorrow.